Hello, I'm Nostalgic Crew. I remember so you didn't have to. Not King's Giant 2B here. Say hello, Catherine.
Hello.
Yeah, so today we are doing the Arnold Schwarzenegger saga. Like I said, we're doing Disney, Arnold, and then Harrison Ford. And Arnold Schwarzenegger starred as a muscle builder. He was Mr. Universe at the time. And I guess they liked him so much, they said, why don't you try some acting and put some money in your pocket? And I said, sure. So this is 1969. He did his very first movie called Hercules in New York. This was a very low budget film, $300,000 to make. Very low budget, even for the time. I think 69 would be a very low budget, even for 69. Anywho, remember Arnold Schwarzenegger was a muscle builder from Austria, and you know, and of course he became a governor. But we're going to do all his movies. I think you said your favorite's True Lies, right?
Arnold movie?
Yeah.
I think I did grow up liking True Lies.
Yeah.
I can't think of... Oh, Kindergarten Cop was my favorite.
Yeah, but we'll get to them in a bit. You know, we have to go through all this stuff. But we're going to start with Hercules in New York. Anywho, let me start with the intro. So, Hercules in New York was his very first movie because he was all muscular, very muscular back then. And he lifted maybe 710 pounds, which made him Mr. Universe back in the day. And I have no idea why they gave him a false name under his billing instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I have no idea why the studio did it. I think it was Lionsgate that did it back then. But they made it very cheap. Anyway, so as you know, the Greeks believed in God, or gods, demigods. They worshipped idols, and they made, you know, like Zeus and Apollo and Mercury and Neptune, and so on and so forth. Where Hercules, if you read the myths and legends of the Greek gods, that he was a demigod, meaning, I guess Zeus had a child with a human being to make him a demigod, so he's not fully a god. Anyways, as you know, with Hercules, he's supposed to be all strong. And of course, we're all familiar with the Disney Hercules, which we'll get to eventually. We haven't got there. We're still in the beginning with Disney. Anyway, and this is a very, in my opinion, and we'll talk about the final thoughts. But this is a very stupid comedy, and but it was just basically fooling around with Arnold Schwarzenegger because he's very muscular, and they didn't know what to do with him, and he didn't speak very good English, so a lot of this might have been dubbed out. And it was very dubbed out. So anyway, we start out with Arnold Schwarzenegger as Hercules, and he's kind of being a spoiled child. He's kind of being an asshole, so to speak. Again, this is not for children, and I don't own anything. But he's kind of being an asshole with the guy who played Zeus, and he's kind of like, I want, you know, and he's being defiant with him, so he decides. And so Zeus kind of says, well, you're banished to Earth, and because obviously and then Earth has changed. You know, we now believe in monotheistic gods, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then you have the Jesus Christ people that believe in Jesus Christ. And you know, for the most part, the Western world believes in one God. And but you know, this guy was like, I guess, stuck where time didn't make. But it's supposed to be 1969, modern day New York. And he's banished to New York, and he's being like a kind of an asshole with people.
That's his job until mankind learns to dispense with his services and lives in peace. Mars must go where he's called.
I only want to browse around.
You'd only get into trouble.
I have been here thousands of years. I am bored.
Don't interrupt your father. Besides, these mortals are bedeviled by as aggravating a collection of annoyances as it is possible for one to imagine. It may not be entirely...
Anywho, so, Arnold kind of leaves, and he falls out of the sky because he's kind of being banished from Mount Olympus. You know, remember, this is a science fiction. It's kind of, you know, fictional fantasy of Mount Olympus. And he lands in the water. And of course, he is Austrian, but no, he's saying he's from Greece, and of course, they're saying, "Oh yeah, you're from Greece." And the problem is he's being a real asshole. He's being real, like, ugly, like, so to speak. and he's kind of being an asshole and stuff, and he's. But the whole point of it was they were really trying to show off his muscle, I guess. And anyways, he's kind of being an arrogant person, and he's being really arrogant with everybody, and not what Hercules is supposed to be. Hercules is supposed to be our hero, and he's not supposed to be that way, but he is being kind of an arrogant person.
But where's the horses?
Let go of that! What's the matter? Hey! Let go of that!
Go!
Anyway, he meets up with this pretzel guy, look like a Woody Allen, but anyway, it's not Woody Allen, I forgot who the actor is. Anyway, and of course all the actors are pretty much dead, except for Arnold. All the actors are pretty much dead in this film, except for one of the goddesses and Arnold. Everybody else is pretty much dead in this film that has made this film. But and of course he's confused. He's having a joke. This Woody Allen lookalike is kind of like saying, "Oh, well, you're from Greece," and he's thinking, "Oh, I know Apollo." And of course he's talking about a human being, and he's talking about the Greek god Apollo. And this was made also by the same time when that Star Trek episode was made. And anywho, so they get to Central Park, and of course. You have to pay the cabbie, and of course, instead of calling the police, the cabbie decides to pick a fight with Arnold, which was a mistake. And then, of course, he knocks over a cab. What do you think of Arnold when he knocked over the cab?
I feel like their depiction of Hercules is a little different than what I grew up with, and he seems to be someone that just turns over a cab instead of trying to talk sense. And I think the original Hercules was a lot smarter than the way they depict him in this movie. He kind of seems a little bit more focused on strength than communication, and I don't remember him being quite like that in the original story, but I could be wrong.
I agree. He was not that. He was supposed to be a hero. He was supposed to be an honest, good person. And the stuff we read as kids, stuff I grew up, we read, he was supposed to be something that a hero, an honest, good person, not supposed to be this evil, ugly, arrogant person.
What is this zoological talk about male and female animals?
This guy got all his marbles. He just come over from the old country. Look, it's money. You know, drachmas. Money?
Oh, I do not have any money.
You don't have any money? Holy moly, you ain't got no money.
Hercules doesn't need any money.
What? That's about the stupidest thing I ever heard in my whole life. Couple of deadbeats, huh? No, look, buddy, you see, there's been a little mistake. Well, now, ain't that something? A mistake. Well, what do you know? A mistake. Last time, gonna get up the door, ain't you?
Isn't it enough that Hercules rode in your chariot? You have been immortalized.
I've been who? Like he said, you heard him. You've been immortalized. You nuts? Well, you see, it's like this. Yeah, like what? Well, you see, okay, call a cop. Not before I have some fun by taking out your hides, I ain't. I'm fun, right? How you done, you set me?
How dare you touch him?
Watch this. Anyway, as you saw, this version of Hercules is an arrogant, mean person. So then he goes to a baseball park and you see some people, some college students training for the Olympics, the 72 Olympics. And they get also a wrestling trainer who has a daughter and he wants to, I guess, connect his daughter. Are watching all this, and of course, he's trying to show off his brute strength. You know, again, he was built as Mr. Universe. Again, this is Arnold's first movie, So he's trying to show off his strength. And of course, the thing is they cut out is how far did it really throw. They're saying, you know, because he's supposed to be a demigod, and he's gonna have some fun with them. And of course, then the guy, what do you call it? Then the guy says, "Oh, I want you to be a wrestler. I want you," to, and of course, then he kind of ends up with the wrong people.
Why? What's the matter? Did you do something wrong?
So this promoter wants him to wrestling. He does some wrestling, and he tried doing this weightlifting, these competitions. But apparently somehow he gets wheeled and dealed to be working with some sort of mobsters, I guess, and kind of take advantage of him. Meanwhile, Zeus and the goddesses are watching from wherever they're watching from, and one of the goddesses kind of takes away his strength power, which is kind of ridiculous. Like I said, this is a very bad movie. This is not my favorite. This is not a good movie, and kind of gets kind of ridiculous. And of course, you know, he's out of place in New York City, and then Zeus kind of changes his mind, and he says, well, he sends Mercury, you know, not the planet Mercury, but the god Mercury, you know, the speedster, to you know, try to convince him to come back, and he won't come back, and that's when this one guy said no. You know, it's kind of like I don't know if you want to relate to that or not, but like, you know, one guy wants to keep power, one wants to take power away.
I find that interesting, but
yeah, and of course this guy finds out who he really is, and you know, it's like a lot of having, because he's a muscle builder, you know, like I said, this is very first me, he's very robotic and whatnot, and he's not doing, he doesn't know what he's doing here, and he's kind of Terminator, like, I guess that's really got James Cameron thought, oh, he could be good for the Terminator, because he's just doing what he feel like, you know, but the Terminator, that's his role. In this case, that's not his role, so.
Somehow, and using our muscles is one of the few ways I could think of for us to get our hands on some dough. I mean, unless you got a better idea on how we're gonna pay all these bills you've been running up here at the hotel.
Yes, sir, gents. The wrestling game is lucrative.
Mr. Dugan here promotes the wrestling matches at the Armory.
Right.
He's seen your picture in the paper.
Right.
He read about what you've done to that bear, and he brought us a proposition.
Hercules is wrestling, because wrestling was lucrative back in the early 70s, because it wasn't, this is before Vince McMahon bought up all the circuits, so it was kind of all the New York circuits. And of course mobsters get involved, and they kind of buy his contract. His contract, these mobsters kind of buy his contract because he's lucrative, and but then meanwhile Zeus and the gods are kind of split, and they kind of like take away his power so he could lose. And because that's the thing, is these mobsters get involved, and if he starts losing, they're gonna start taking, you know, it's kind of like the Rocky movies a little bit. Remember with the mobsters? A little bit. I don't know. Kind of like with that a little bit. Anywho, so he gets involved with these he's doing wrestling, gets involved with these monsters, and then Zeus, and like I said, Zeus's goddesses take away the powers, and of course he's having this love relationship he's trying to have with one of the promoters and whatnot.
Food only use small coins. They who run this place must be public benefactors.
Let's go and get a table.
Very pretty. I like New York very much.
Oh, I'm glad. Perhaps you'll stay here longer than you thought you might.
Well, another 100 years at least.
winning his wrestling stuff, but obviously he's dealing with mobsters, and of course he has this love affair with this one lady, and again they're just trying to play with Arnold because he's Mr. Universe at this time. You know, it's his very first movie, so the bulk of the movie is just him lifting weights and throwing his brute strength around. There's not much acting going on. And also Arnold is, you know, he's from Austria, so English is a second language to him. So I know, like I said, Zeus and you know, they're kind of, you know, try getting, you know, he sends Mercury to send him back, and he wouldn't send him back. So one of the goddesses kind of takes away his power, his strength power, and he starts and they're kind of like getting fed up with that, and so Mars tries to convince him. He says, "We all want you back," and of course this other goddess takes away his strength power, and all of a sudden he's like a normal human being. Going to his real weight of 750 pounds, I guess, so.
Calm down.
I think that was Hades.
Said on the phone he is here. Said we recognize him by the briefcase he'd be carrying. Here he comes.
Anyway, so Hercules, or Arnold, loses the contest. He does lift 750 pounds, but they're saying he lift 1,000 pounds, and they show his muscle. I'm not, like I said, I cannot show scene for scene. They're trying to display his weightlifting capability, and with other muscle builders who actually were wrestlers at the time, or actual muscle builders at the time, who probably competed with Arnold in the Mr. Universe contest at the time. And but he doesn't have his power. Then, after he loses, then they kidnap the girl, and of course they kind of just run around trying to. He gets the girl back, and then they meet up at a paper factory. And then I guess he gets his power back, and he decides to become honorable again, so to speak, and kind of knocks out the bad guys, and then decides that he wants to go back to wherever the gods hang out, I guess, and after all that. Finds out about the other goddess taking away his power, got angry with that, and I guess Zeus returns his power to him, and then I guess Hercules kind of wises up and says, "Oh, I'll just come back to you guys," and then he leaves, goes back to I don't know wherever they go back to, and then Zeus kind of just leaves for New York, I guess, at the end of the movie. I'm going to show 2 more scenes and I'll give you my final thoughts. I guess he just returns back to wherever Greek mythology hangs out, I guess. After his power being given back to him, I guess, and then I don't know. It just kind of it's kind of weird. It kind of it didn't make sense to me. He just kind of comes back to wherever the mythology people hang out, I guess. pretty much Arnold Schwarzenegger's first movie, Hercules in New York. Bunch of nonsense, if you ask me. Just basically showing off his muscles, I guess. Any final thoughts, Catherine?
Not really. I kind of missed the last part of the movie. Yesterday I fell asleep, but I did kind of... I wasn't a fan of how they filmed this in a city and gave like a Hercules city version instead of the original Hercules movie. However, there were some parts to it that were interesting. But I would have liked it if they had portrayed him a little bit smarter and less all about attacking people and throwing things at them or their belongings. I think it still would have been a good movie.
Okay, so that's our review. This is David Johnny 2B. And that's Catherine. We're signing off. We'll see you in the next video. The next movie review will be Harrison Ford's first movie. And when he plays, he does a cameo, that's it. And then we'll go back to Disney.
So we're just doing one movie?
Well, no, we're doing Harrison Ford's debut movie. And then we're going to be doing... And then going back to... We're looping between the three stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're doing Harrison Ford's debut, and then that should be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go back to Disney and see what they got. So we'll see you in the next movie review. This is David Johnny 2B.
Catherine.
And we're signing off. Have a good day.